mentioned before, LGBT Japan recently enacted LGBTQ understanding promotion law, but it's not specifically mentioned about how specifically anti-discrimination measure is mentioned, or which penalty will be enacted when discrimination happened. So I'm interested in in Taipei, what kind of measure is specifically mentioned in the law system.
If the corporates that violate those regulations, would they be punished?
Oh yeah, what kind of penalty is mentioned?
So from what I know, though we do have there will be some investigation from the government. They need to have the person in charge to do the investigation in the corporates to tell whether they violate, or maybe the investigator will go to the company to say, oh, can you show us your resume chart? Would you invite people to fill in the columns about their gender, their marital situation, or would you base on those information to discriminate? But it's hard to find, or it's hard, although it's written in the law that you cannot discriminate based on the sexual orientation, but it's hard to really find the evidence they did that. And I think the government also faced the obstacle that they don't have enough resources to really put those regulations into implement. So I think that's we do have the law, and if they really violate the law, they will have some punishment, fines. They need to pay for those fines. But I think the obstacle would be how to find the evidence, really prove that they violate those regulations. Yeah. Do you have any? Yeah.
I have nothing yet. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'm also from Japan, and I in Japan LGBT is support is kind of a trend. It's really a good thing. I did the hunting one last year, and I realized that some company shows some effort externally, but inside system is not really work. So and then in Japan first job is really important. It's gonna really affect it to their career. So for me I feel this company is really good, but when I go inside everything is really different. So is it also happen in Taiwan? And I also want to ask it's kind of big question, but how can we increase the company which is truly implement the diversity and inclusion? How we can create that, and how we can increase that kind of company? That's my question.
So maybe if May you have any other other suggestion, but I do see some discussion between the corporates. That's why important for the connection for those gatherings, so we can collect some information whether they are friendly within and how can we. So the corporates will also discuss about the internal, because people come to the gathering. Mainly the majority of them are all staff. So they will discuss the true situation within their workplace. And so I think that's somehow we can find a way to see the gap between some corporates. They stand out very front, and whether the industry also very open within. And I think those discussions also encourage the staff to know about the other. I want to make a example for one of the hotel they join our connection gathering, and they share some story about the internal discussion about the uniform, whether the women staff, they can wear pants when they take in the duty. So I think I think the most cherished part is not the corporates or the hotel finally made that policy. Is that the staff within the gathering, they share the story about they have the internal discussion. So I think we also observe sometimes that some corporates, they will have the truck every year during the march, during the Pride Parade, but we don't see much about their internal policy. And I think that's similar in Taiwan, and maybe in the future, these kind of collaboration can improve the internal discussion.
One thing that I would add too is that certainly there's a difference between policy and practices that a company can implement that could be scored on one of these indices, and the culture that one experiences when they're on the job, and the broad range of different cultures depending upon what your work location is. Being at a corporate headquarters is very different than being on a factory floor, and so even if it's all under the umbrella of the same company and the same policies and practices, I think there's a few things to look out for. One is there a robust internal network of LGBTQ+ employees? Is there an effective employee group that has the ability to raise the alarm if there is a culture that is toxic within the workplace? So making sure that those mechanisms exist is something that's really, really important. One of the other things that we have been really kind of, and I think we've seen a lot of businesses focus on it over the course of the last few years, and we may see some backsliding, is the importance of self-identification and being able to say as part of a new hire intake form or in some other sort of mechanism where you can self-identify as being LGBTQ+, and that can be tied to the experiences during an employee survey, saying that the environment that you're having is really very tough, right? So that they can see trends amongst the LGBTQ+ employees. And so those are a few of the things that have to help to connect the policy and practice to what the culture is, and to help kind of give corporate leaders the tools and the information they need to correct it when it needs to be. So I know that we're pretty close on time. Do we have time for one more question? So maybe one more question, I think, over here.
So I think this question is for Joyce. I'd like to zoom in on what you said about engaging companies to endorse marriage equality. So in the Philippines, for context, we still don't have an anti-discrimination legislation and are currently still lobbying for its passage for 25 years now. And you can imagine how the pushback looks like if we were to push for other gender legislations like a marriage equality law. And even companies are wary of endorsing anything beyond anti-discrimination policy. So I guess I'd like to ask what advice you could give to Southeast Asian advocates in leveraging the economic sector or the corporate sector to pressure the government to pursue more gender transformative laws, especially in this time and age that the global political landscape is shifting further to the right.
I think from my point of view, because I have to say in Taiwan, our social contexts are quite different. For example, I know in Philippines there are high popularity with the religious, but it's not it's not that kind of situation in Taiwan. Even our marriage equality campaign also confront lots of the religious rights pressure. And I'm thinking one of the other, because during our campaign we're trying to raise the, like I said, we're trying to raise the value of from Taiwan society. So I'm thinking for Southeast Asia, Thailand is a very good example currently. Yeah, because maybe that's another example from and also some competition. Like we will say, if the corporates don't do that now, and the good human resource will dive into Thailand instead of Philippines. So that's the way we trying to convince those corporates, but also I think for the public communication, how to launch that, it's the core value of this society. It's the beneficial for this society, for this country. I think that's probably something we can talk later. Yeah.
So I think we're at time. Miriam and Joyce, thank you for your thoughts and contributions to the important conversation. Thank you all for being here. Much more to discuss on the importance of collaboration in our respective regions.